Welcome everybody to Ossont Battery. Tonight I got my first, on location interview. This is with the Deadbolt Breaks. They're a local band from Connecticut, and welcome everybody. Thank you. Everyone, if you could just introduce yourselves and tell what instrument you play, that'd be great.
Aaron, guitar and vocals.
Amber, vocals and lots of vocal pedals and stuff.
Steve, bass.
Rob, drums.
All right. And first of all, I wanted to have you guys on because I'm a big fan of local music and unique bands, and you guys are one of the most unique bands I've heard in a long time. I was really pretty impressed when I first saw you. Unfortunately, the first time I saw you guys, I forgot my earplugs, and that was a major mistake. So if you could just tell me a little bit, Aaron, how you got the band started and what was kind of the influence behind it?
Oh, God. Yeah, so probably 2004-ish, 2003-ish, somewhere around there. I just left Cable. Cable split up for a short period of time. And I had this one song that I've been playing for a while. It was Color the Sun. And I always wanted to kind of use it with a band, and it was always like too slow or just didn't fit for the right, it wasn't right. So I got a drummer together, this guy Eric Wagner, and we sat down and we just started writing and recording shit. And it eventually became When the Deadbolt Breaks, but we got signed to a label shortly after that, and we had to scramble to put a band together. So I was kind of like the very, very beginnings of it back in 2004, I think.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I know you've had a few lineup changes since then. A few.
Over the years.
The first time I saw you guys, you were a three-piece. Now, how did some of those lineup changes come about? I think there was two other guys playing in the band when I saw you in 2017 or something.
Yeah, so I think it was Mike and Dumas at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, we were a three-piece for a while. Way before that, we were a two-piece for about 2 years. I traveled with 2 full stacks and bi-amped and split my signal. So I had the low end and I had the guitar. I mean, the lineup changes. It's a lot of various reasons. I mean, everything's different, but we've always kind of welcomed it. And even like on the records, there's always somebody or some people that aren't part of the band that we feel can add something to a specific song, whether they want to do vocals for it or like just add some weird instrumentation or whatever, because it's more about the music and the song, and every time you get new people in the band, it's the same, but it changes.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got different talents, and it's their interpretation of what we're doing. So I've never looked at it as a bad thing. I like the progression, and I like the changes, and keeps you from being bored, I guess.
Now, what about some of your influences with Deadbolt?
A lot. I mean, right off the bat, I'd probably have to say Neurosis, Today is a Day, Pink Floyd, and probably Miles Davis are super heavy influences of mine as far as musically goes, because I just like the approach and the theories behind it, and sometimes the sparseness and the aggression at the same time. So it's kind of a little bit of everything.
All right. Now, Amber, what about you?
So I'm the complete opposite spectrum of all these guys here. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so I sang in the Catholic church and choir and show choir, and I was raised on, Madonna and, Debbie Gibson and Patty Griffin, Fiona Apple, all those people. And then, of course, I still like to listen to Led Zeppelin and the Police and all that. And then I met this guy here. It's like, broaden the horizons. Here, try this metal stuff. What's this? But yeah.
Well, it's funny too when some people are like, "Oh, I'm into metal," and they're like, "Oh, so you like Metallica or Korn and stuff?" It's like, not quite, a little bit different.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Steve? What are your influences?
So I grew up on 80s hair metal, and that continues to just shape my worldview. But much like Aaron, Neurosis, ISIS is huge for me. So some of the like post-metal, just that whole kind of thing, Converge to a certain degree, Breach. And we combine whatever we have in our heads and try to make some sense of it.
Yeah. And how about you, Rob? Some of your influences.
I like the really mellow stuff, Cannibal Corpse, DSI, Obituary. That's
Yeah, you like to relax, right? Exactly. Now, one of my next questions is, you have some other bands. I know you had for a while, I know it's on hiatus, but Buzzard Canyon.
Yep.
Which is a very different than Deadbolt. Is that intentional? You wanted to had some other stuff you had to get out? So
Yeah, I forget exactly why it started, but I mean, I think there was, at the time, there might have been issues with Deadbolt where it was getting kind of difficult because of members or whatever it was. So I wanted to do something different. I wanted to go to the opposite end of the spectrum and do something that was like very Motorhead, Thin Lizzy, where you could just drive through desert puppy fist, straight up rock and roll. And that's kind of where Buzzard Canyon kind of came from, is that whole desert rock feel, And with that one, when we started it, it was just a 3-piece. It was Matt on drums, Dumas on bass, and myself. And when I had met Amber, we had started tracking some of the first record, and I heard her sing for the first time, and I was like, come to the studio because I've got an idea. And she started singing over the stuff that I was doing, and it just seemed to work out. And I played it for the guys, and they were like, holy shit, this is it. So that's kind of where that, But right now, it's on hiatus. I mean, everybody's got their own projects that they're doing, so, we're focusing heavily on Deadbolt right now. So.
Awesome. Another project I know you did, I wanted to touch on that, I believe Rob was involved in, was Sentinel Hill.
Yep.
I know you guys released one EP. I was a big fan of that. There's a song, I think it's Stones Unturned, where I think the last 30 seconds or so you have some really great drum fills. And I always look forward to that part of the song. It's one of my favorite parts. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's more of like a rock band. So how did you get that band going?
Charlie.
Rob?
Well, that was originally Charlie and I.
Okay.
We had Low Moments, the pop punk version of Low Moments, and Charlie had wanted to do some of the older Holding On to Nothing, but kind of in a different format, something a little more current. So he and I started messing around with that, and we started talking about who would be a good bass player or whatever. And so we tapped into Aaron, and that was pretty much, that was 90% of Sentinel Hill, was the three of us. Yeah. The other 10% was Bill Herrick, because Aaron would be off playing 007 somewhere, or he'd be doing something with Deadbolt. So we played a couple shows with Bill Herrick. The cool thing about him was we never rehearsed with him ever.
Wow.
He's Charlie Charlie sent him a list. He was like, "These are the songs we're going to play." The only times we ever played with Bill Herrick was at an actual show.
Wow, that's insane.
That's the level that the guy's at. You
Yeah.
tell him what songs you want him to play, and he shows up ready to go.
Wow. Yeah, I just interviewed More Than the Light last week, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So there was some good guys there. Excellent. So the next question I had was, as far as had to do with the sound of the band. Volume seems to be a big thing with the band, especially live. Very loud band. And also the length of the songs. I noticed you have some very long-form songs. Can that be kind of troubling to write those sometimes, or is it just naturally?
Neither, I guess. I mean, both, actually. It depends on how you look at it. I mean, the length of the songs doesn't happen on purpose. Like, not like we go out intentionally to write like a 30-minute song or whatever, but we just stop where it feels right. Especially when we're writing it, it's like we're working on it, and all right, this is cool, but it seems a little unfinished. We start adding things to it. Next thing you know, it's well past 20 minutes. Playing it live is always a trip, because you don't have to play it the same way anytime.
Yeah.
It's always a different speed too.
Yeah, I mean, we've always wanted it to be different than what's on the record, because you don't want to go see. Personally, I don't want to go see a band that sounds exactly like the record, because then I just get fucking bored. I want to see something different, like a different take on it, and something more unique. So the more we play the songs, the more we kind of fuck around with them sometimes, and so the length of the songs, it's just something that kind of happens. I think the only one we really planned out was the second disc for Drifting Towards the Edge of the Earth. It's one song, and it's about an hour long.
Wow.
And the idea with that was, we had all these parts that we knew fit together. We wanted to make it one song, but we wanted to do it in movements like a classical song.
Mhm.
So we arranged them in a way where it kind of crescendo. You know, it started off like at one pace and just kind of started building up. And we split them up on the CD, but they're supposed to be, you know, there's no gaps between it.
Yeah.
So it's technically 1 hour long song.
That's awesome.
So,
No, I noticed when I was watching you guys rehearse that some of the last song I watched, it starts off really fast.
Glass Eye.
Yeah, and then ends very slow.
Yeah.
So as far as, you know, Rob and Steve, when you guys, is it tougher sometimes to keep pace with a faster song or a song that's really, really slow? Because I've heard opposite. I've heard some drummers say, oh, it's really tougher to keep a slow song, or some people say, no, it's really tougher to do it fast because you have to have the stamina. So what do you guys think?
For me, it really depends on what I'm playing. I can't play double bass slow. If I have to do something kind of that pattern, I'll just play with my right foot. Because trying to do 2 feet slow just never works for me. So I'm better at like mid-tempo and higher tempo double bass. But blast beats are a real pain in the ass. I'm not a blast beat guy. I never have been. I learned how to do blast beats when Aaron and I started messing around with Vatican Fire.
Okay.
And I'm still trying to figure out how the hell to do it. But I bullshit my way through it good enough.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
I fake it.
Now, Steve, I also see you have a double bass,
Yes.
electric double bass. How do you decide, like, this part really needs a double bass part or just a regular electric bass part? I don't know much about instruments, so...
Yeah. So interestingly, I joined the band playing keyboards.
Yes.
And sort of being the fruity filling in the middle of the Pop-Tart, if you will. And 90% of what I was doing was stringed instruments on the keyboard, samples or something. So when I moved to bass, I was thinking about some of the things that I used to play on keyboards with the strings. And it just occurred to me, I said, well, let's throw a double bass in there. What the heck? And it usually gets used for, I would say, slower paced songs because the bowing really helps for that. Anything that doesn't require vibrato or good technique because I don't play the double bass. It's like, I just got one and was like, man, I think you drag a bow like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people in metal don't know how it's supposed to be played anyway.
It's the rhythm section is kind of faking their way through.
Yeah, basically. That's,
Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
When he moved over to bass, it was like a couple months into it, I think. He calls me, he's like, okay, I'm bringing something to next practice. He's like, if you hate it, fuck it, we're not going to do it. And I was like, I'm probably not going to hate it because I enjoy the things you do. So he shows up with this and stands up, and I was like, holy shit, I don't even have to hear it. This is it. This is definitely cool.
It looks cool.
It does. And then he started playing, and it was like, it just sounds, especially for the slow, heavy stuff, it has this really just weepy, kind of sad sound to it, but it also sounds a little dark and grindy, so it's honestly, it's perfect.
Yeah, especially, I mean, for like when the Deadbolt Breaks, it does have that dark feeling.
Yeah.
Actually, that's another thing I want to touch on, is the name of the band. How did you come up with that? Because I tell people the name of the band, and I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty ominous. That sounds real, like, as my friend said, I told him the name of the band, he said, well, what happens after that?
See,
I said, I don't know, I guess that's up to you to decide.
And that was always the thing. So it kind of came about because of LSD. I mean, all good things generally do. But so I always had this one vision. It was almost like a cartoony vision, and that's kind of where the name came from. It's like I always pictured like this, a certain set of steps, like cement steps that were like 3 steps. And, as the camera kind of pans up, it's a pouring rain out, and you see this guy, he's got a trench coat on. As it kind of goes up, you see there's crushed petals all around the ground. And in one hand, he's got these crushed roses, and he's like clenching, and in the other hand, he's got the gun, and the barrel of it's smoking, And as the camera keeps moving, I mean, if there is a camera, maybe it's whatever, you see that the door is broken open, and there's a set of feet. Somebody's just laying there,
Oh, wow.
And that was the whole thing. I was just like, oh, when Deadbolt Breaks, and we always, when Rich was in the band, we always just joke around. We were like, what happens? You don't know. It's ominous, So I always like that. I like the way Quentin Tarantino writes movies in sections, and where some of the stuff is like left open to the viewer. Like,
Yeah.
how does it end? Who the fuck knows? And how do you want it to end? You know?
And you use that scene in your video too.
Yeah. So that scene, Sleeps in Burning Hills.
Yep.
When you got the chance to do that video, that became the video. Was that whole idea of well, we turned it into kind of a stalker thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But so that scene
The
is
creepy stalker stalked me and killed me.
yeah. But that's where that all came from. It's just that vision.
Now, one of the first records I got from you was Angels Are Weeping, God Is Abandoned. That was on Desert Records.
Yep.
With Brad Fry. I'm friendly with Brad. How did you get on Desert with Brad?
Brad is a lovely guy. Probably one of my favorite people. So I got asked to tour with Earthride on bass for a month. We were going out with the Skull and Hyborian.
Wow.
And it was 30 dates in 31 days all over across the country. And I didn't even think about it. I was like, it's Earthride. I'm definitely going because
Dave Sherman.
yeah, I mean between Dave Sherman, Eric Little, who Eric played on Church of Misery record, and Eternal Void, and Dave Sherman played with all these bands, and then being able to play with Eric Wagner, and Trouble, and all that stuff, and there was no way I was going to miss the opportunity. So we were going out, and I think we had a date in San Diego, and for some reason Sherman didn't want to do it. So we were like, okay, well, he's like, I've got a buddy in New Mexico. Let's see if we could set something up. So we called up Brad, and he got a show at the Launchpad because I think Brad
he plays a lot of shows there.
Yeah, Brad was doing a record release for their first record that night. So he was like, yeah, come on down and play. So we traveled all the way there, played the show, and it was awesome. I mean, the whole tour was amazing. But so at that point, Angels Weeping was, in process. We had 90% of it recorded. So when I got back home, I was like, you know what? It's cheesy, and I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. So I just fucking emailed him and said, hey, thanks for bringing us down there. It was awesome. By the way, I've got this other band. I don't know if you want to hear it or not, but here's the songs that we got for the new record. And he fell in love with it. Originally, I guess from what I understand, the Desert Records was just for him and his band. That was the original idea of it, But then when he heard the Deadbolt stuff, he was like, man, I think I want to make this into a label. So he signed us, and we worked it out, and it was a great experience.
Yeah. It's definitely, and what's great about that is that's my introduction to Desert Records. I was like, hey, Deadbolt's got a record coming out, I'm going to buy that. And then since then, I bought every single vinyl they've had on Desert Records because they have so much good stuff coming out there.
He signs quality bands, and us. But,
And then there's more.
All right, so now I got a few little different sections, a few lighthearted questions, some of them non-metal.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Favorite non-metal genre of music? Non-metal, non-hard rock genre of
Swing music.
Okay.
Old
Aaron?
school swing.
I'd probably say jazz, swing.
Jazz,
Yeah.
okay. Steve?
I would also say modal jazz,
Okay. And what about you, Rob?
The B-52s are my
B-52s.
favorite non-metal band.
That's awesome. They are great.
And I have a soft spot for Barry Manilow. Like, no joke, in all seriousness, I adore Barry. I love you.
I have to admit, I have a soft spot for yacht rock. I'm a big yacht rock guy.
Nice.
I love Christopher Cross.
Boats and Hose.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite 80s sitcom?
God. Oh.
Probably the Wonder Years.
Okay, there we go.
I think I'd go with Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
Balky.
Yeah.
Balky.
Think of what?
Larry and Balky, yeah.
I watched a lot of cartoons, actually. I loved cartoons.
Wasn't Jem one of them?
Yeah,
She's truly outrageous.
Truly,
Truly outrageous.
Yeah, I think like a lot of them, like Animaniacs and stuff. That was like '90s. I want to say.
Mine
80s.
would actually be Alf. I loved Alf.
Ah.
Charles in Charge.
There you go.
That one.
Okay, so this next one, favorite 80s show theme song. So TV show doesn't have to be a sitcom. There's literally two right answers for this, at least for me.
Greatest American hero.
There you go. You got
Yeah,
it.
that's got to be one. I'd say
That's my vote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's mine.
yeah, between that, I mean, obviously A-Team is in there, but Three's Company, I always like the...
I would say with Cheers. Cheers is also a great one.
Okay,
I always
there you
get
go.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the last kind of fun one, I guess. Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Neither.
I like one of each when I'm having a cookout.
Yeah, that's. I'm the same way.
I just gave up eating mammals.
Okay.
So.
Well, they have all sorts of veggie type.
Yeah.
They do.
My son's doesn't really eat meat too much, so we get the Impossible burgers a lot. So
I guess my response would just be that it's tough to look manly eating a hot dog.
I go for pizza.
there you go. Hey, you can't go wrong with pizza.
Right.
All right. So next thing I want to touch on is future music that you guys are going to be releasing. I know you said that you're writing new music. Do you have any plans on when that will be released, or you're just in the writing mode right now?
We're in the writing mode right now. So when Steve went over to bass, because Charlie was in the band on bass for a while, but when he left, Steve was like, "Hey, I want to play bass." So we went over to bass, and it worked. It was awesome. But for some reason, there was just like this thing was missing, because we started liking the keyboards.
Yep.
So that's kind of how Amber came into play, because I have an addiction to guitar pedals and
I've seen that,
amplifiers.
yes, on the online.
It's a bad addiction. But
That's actually why I'm here. We're actually here to... This is an intervention,
intervention,
Aaron.
right? All right, everybody get your letters out. Yep. No, so I think we were probably drinking one night, and I was like, "Hey, let's try something." So we went into the basement of the studio. Yeah, and just put all these pedals together. And I was like, "Just sing through these," and she started doing what she does. I mean, and through the pedals, like all these guitar pedals and vocal pedals and stuff, and so that whole thing was born,
Yeah.
So we're writing the new record now, and it's cool because we're adding all this weird shit into it. That, I mean, we've always tried to add different things in there, but now it's like it's getting weirder, which is cool. I mean, the psychedelic stuff is
It's creative.
yeah. I mean, the psychedelic stuff is getting more psychedelic. We're reaching out to like all these different types of instruments and stuff. And then like I said, what Amber brings to it is a whole different level.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of songs written. Some of them are kind of long. Sorry. So, and
I love long songs, so...
with luck, I'll have something to announce in the next couple of weeks. But I can't. I don't want to get to do it now. But it's technically it's going to be our 10th record.
Wow.
So for us, it's a milestone.
It's been a
So we
ride.
want to try and do something different. And 10. So
That's pretty... most people don't even get out, like, one or two,
yeah.
So...
It's every single album is completely different from the other.
Yeah, they are. And then that's what I like, is I like a band that kind of keeps me on my toes,
Yeah.
I love my AC/DCs where you're going to get the same thing over and over
Right.
again.
Cut and paste.
Yeah, but I also love, like I said, a band that's going to surprise me.
Yeah.
So next thing before, I guess we wrap it up, I just wanted to ask you about any future live shows, and also about your live show. Because I know you guys do there's a lot of visual to your live show. And that was one of the things when I first saw it that I loved, was that kind of psychedelic, backdrop in the videos and stuff. So how did that happen? And any plans on touring soon?
Yeah, no, so that came about because I forget what year it was, but at the time, Rich Kalinowski was the drummer. And I think we were actually going on tour with Elder. Before Elder blew up, we did 5 or 6 dates with them going down south. Great guys. I mean, it was so much fun. It was an awesome time. And I think right before we went, Rich was like, "Hey, there's this projector for sale at a pawn shop or whatever." And I was like, "Fuck it, let's go get it." Right? So we went down and bought it. And at the time, we were using like DVDs with it, all these different DVDs or whatever. But then I started making my own videos for it, And the idea behind it was that like nobody cares about the band. Like we don't necessarily matter at that point, right? It's more about the sound, the feeling that the experience, you know. And
It's like an immersive experience. Yeah.
right, and that's, you know, you're asking about the volume before. That's kind of where that comes into play. Is, you know, part of it is because I use old tube amps and I don't have an attenuator, so there's a sweet spot, you know, and that sweet spot is generally pretty loud. But I mean, it's like, you know, if you have it at stage volume, at least the ones that I use, it's like, you know, it sounds brittle and weak, and I just can't do that. So, you know, I have it at a certain spot. So it's loud, but it's also because, I mean, I play a lot off the feedback and the noise from it, and, you know, especially in between songs, and we want it to be one of those things where, like, you walk in, you've got the projector going, so you don't really know what's going on. There's all these weird images of, you know, being projected around, and the music just completely surrounds you and just kind of moves shit around inside you, you know? and then it's done. You know, it goes for 45 minutes, half hour, an hour, whatever, and then it just ends. And the lights come back on. You know, to me, that's always been kind of a cool idea, a cool experience, is that, you know, the band becomes kind of anonymous at that point, and it's more, holy shit, I went and saw a rock show. You know, to me, it's more of a show that way than just a couple of guys getting up there in jeans and t-shirts and.
And like I said, the first time I saw you guys, I think it was a local metal showcase in 2017. I was at Altones, and like I that's what I loved about it, was that whole immersive experience. And like you said, when the light comes on, it's almost like a shock to the system.
Yeah, you know? It's like you sober up.
Yeah, exactly. So and it's really great. So
no on-stage banter, you know, like, hey, this is Steve on bass, Sarah on guitar.
I think I've only done that a couple times, and I probably shouldn't have been walking around at that point. You know? So I started saying stupid shit, but I don't like the talk in between songs because nobody cares what I have to say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know.
Half the time you can't hear it anyway. It's like,
Like, hey, party people.
Hey.
Right.
Everyone's just here.
Yeah.
You having fun? No.
Yeah, and plus, to me, like with what we do, I think the talking in between, it kind of takes you out of that experience, you know. And so I'd rather just flow from one thing into the next. And
now, is it a tough playing live when you have such long songs, choosing a set list?
Rob has it down to science. Rob, tell us your science.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know the rough length of the songs. You know, we just kind of go by however much time we have. I mean, kind of what Amber was saying about playing songs at different tempos, that kind of goes along with it. I mean, the last show we played, we had 30 minutes. We played 3 songs. But to fill that 30 minutes, I just dragged the tempo on all 3 songs to kind of to take up that whole 30 minutes, because otherwise it was like 27 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of part of it is figuring out how much time you got, how long the different songs are, try to change it up, keep it interesting, and then adjust the tempos to kind of.
But it's always Rob's choice. It's always Rob's choice.
But I mean, even like we're not opposed to, or I'm not opposed to like doing, if it's one song for 45 minutes, if the song makes sense, and that's what fits there, I'm not against doing it, you know, because it's not going to be the same. I mean, it's got, you know, different riffs in there, and we're going to play them differently and kind of, you know, play around things as we go. So I mean, it's all just part of the thing. You know, it doesn't have to be. We don't have to fit as many songs in there as possible. Yep. It's not about impressing people with our rock prowess. It's more of like, this is the show. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Now, before I wrap things up, is there anything else you guys want to say about the band, or any other plans you got going on, or where can people find your music and your merchandise?
So, Deadboltbreaks.com. That's where all of our merchandise is. Shows-wise, we've got a couple coming up. We're playing Maryland Doom Festival in June. We're playing the Warcock-Palooza on the 25th of May at Hope's Brewery, the Beer Axe. And then we've got a couple things that we're working on right now. But we're focusing on getting the record done and you know, writing that and doing a couple shows here and there. But that's the main thing to us really is at this point getting that done and putting something quality out there. Where you can, I mean, aside from our website, you can go to any of the large music.
Bandcamp,
Bandcamp, and you know, I don't even know, like whatever.
Amazon Music,
Spotify, all that
YouTube,
shit. It's all over that stuff. So.
Now, what about Amber, Steve, Rob? Do you guys have any other projects that you wanted to mention, or anything like that?
Yeah, I am I'm writing a 90s death metal influenced album. The project is called Recreational Dismemberment.
Is that based on your cat?
It's based on Charlie's cat.
Charlie's cat, okay.
Charlie had posted a picture of him and his cat and mentioned that the cat was considering recreational dismemberment.
That is a great name for it.
And said, P.S., that's also the name of Rob's death metal project. And I said, actually, you know what?
It is.
It is now. So I'm doing guitar, bass, and drums, writing all the music. I'm about 5 songs deep into it.
Nice.
And then Charlie's going to do the majority of the vocals on it for me. And then I'm going to twist Aaron's arm probably to get him to do a song or two. And it'll just be kind of, it's nothing super flashy. You know, the idea is Obituary meets Cannibal Corpse kind of stuff, you know. It's just all about a good groove and kind of simple, big riffs. And that's kind of what I'm excited about.
No, you're more into the technical death metal, or I'm more of like an autopsy kind of when it comes to death metal.
I
that
like
kind
a
of
good
gross.
groove. Like, as much as I love Cannibal Corpse, I actually like their slower shit, like Scourge of Iron. You know, that is more appealing to me than blast beats a million miles an hour. I want something that's why I like Obituary so much. You know, Obituary, they're the kings of the mid-tempo, super simple power chord riffs. So that's kind of, that's what I'm stealing the ideas from for that.
I remember my mom when I was 15, she got me a Slowly We Rot long sleeve for my birthday.
Nice.
Thank you, Mom. So, what about you, Steve? Amber, you guys got anything you want to, anything else you want to promote, or
Nothing to promote per se.
anything else you want to say?
Anything else I want to say? Orange water, bucket of plaster.
I feel the same way.
Yes. No, it's just that the last 2 years have been spectacular with Aaron, Rob, and Amber,
Awesome.
and I just can't say enough about how wonderful it is to work with them as musicians, but also as people.
Awesome.
Yeah, and for me, I'm quitting the band, guys. Sorry.
Well, there's a new announcement, everybody.
It's like, and with that, Steve, sayonara.
There goes our sex appeal. All right, Rob, you got a strip.
No, what's a secret?
All right, everybody. Well, that does it for this edition of Ossont Battery on the Flamekeeper Network. So, everybody, stay metal.
For 45 years in keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out.